Hi everybody, welcome to this webinar. My name's Judy Lambourne, I'm a Senior Business Advisor with Coventry University Enterprises. Following on from our first seminar about developing a value proposition, this one is about developing your ideas further using the Business Model Canvas. So today we're going to cover the Business Model Canvas, its structure and uses, how it interfaces with the external environment and why, when you might use the tool. We're going to work through an example with George, who you met last time. And then lastly, we're going to examine the concept of a minimal viable proposition. So this is what the Business Model Canvas looks like. It's a one-page strategic planning tool and was developed by Alex Osterwalder and Yves Pigot, and it's used worldwide. Now they say that they're very happy to share it, provided we acknowledge that that's who developed it. You can find out more about them at Strategyzer.com. I'll give you that website address again later on as well. What we're going to do first is to run a short video which gives you a tour of the tool.
An organization's business model can be described with 9 basic building blocks: your customer segments, your value proposition for each segment, the channels to reach customers, customer relationships you establish, the revenue streams you generate, the key resources and key activities you require to create value, the key partners, and the cost structure of the business model. But it's not sufficient to just enumerate the 9 building blocks. What you really want to do is to map them out on a pre-structured canvas. This is what we call the Business Model Canvas, a tool that helps you map, discuss, design, and invent new business models. Let's briefly go through the 9 building blocks, starting with the customer segments. These are all the people or organizations for which you're creating value. This includes simple users and paying customers. For each segment, you have a specific value proposition. These are the bundles of products and services that create value for your customers. The channels describe through which touchpoints you're interacting with customers and delivering value. The customer relationships outline the type of relationship you're establishing with your customers. The revenue streams make clear how and through which pricing mechanisms your business model is capturing value. Then you need to describe the infrastructure to create, deliver, and capture value. The key resources show which assets are indispensable in your business model. The key activities show which things you really need to be able to perform well. The key partners show who can help you leverage your business model, since you won't own all key resources yourself, nor will you perform all key activities. Then once you understand your business model's infrastructure, you'll also have an idea of its cost structure. So with the Business Model Canvas, you can map out your entire business model in one image. This works for startup entrepreneurs just as well as for the most senior executives.
Okay, so we're going to go into more depth about each of those sections as we go through the seminar. The Business Model Canvas has got lots of uses. It's useful when you're thinking about launching a new product alongside an existing portfolio of products. It's great for planning and thinking through a brand new idea. It's useful as a blank canvas to develop thoughts, to review where your business is and finesse improvements, and to put together a case for investment. In the previous webinar, we thought about the value proposition for a new idea. So the central section of the canvas, it talks about the value proposition. So we've got a starting point in this case. If you remember, we were talking about a product called SickNote. And this is what we came up with using the value proposition canvas to work towards the structure suggested by Geoffrey Moore. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to George again. George is a small business owner I'm working with who has developed this product. Before we start looking at George's business, there is one other thing you need to think about that isn't explicitly covered by the Business Model Canvas, and that's the competition. Essentially, who is competing for the same available pounds to spend? What would people do if you didn't exist? It's also useful to use the pestle tool to structure your thoughts. For those that aren't familiar with the PESTLE tool, that's political, economic, social, technological, legal and environmental. We can have a look at considering the competition in a further seminar. So for today we're going to move on to the SickNote value proposition. So George, last time we worked through this, didn't we? And we came up with this statement that we were happy with. So to reiterate, who is SickNote for?
Well, I'm targeting small business owners.
Okay, and what's the job to be done?
They want to manage sickness amongst their staff.
Okay, and what is it?
SickNote is a mobile cloud-based solution available on subscription.
And what are the benefits?
Well, the user can log, track, manage and action all elements of any sickness absence in a way that is legal and fair.
And then, bearing in mind what I've said about the competition, what makes it different from everything else?
Well, as far as I know, this is the only app that does the job, so it's truly available 24/7 and anywhere in the world.
Okay, so that's your completed value proposition. And what we do is we pop that onto the business model canvas in the centre, and we use that as the basis of all the decisions we make about how we're going to run the business, hang the rest of the plan around it. So we're going to start by populating the right-hand side of the canvas, the 3 sections about relationships, segments and channels, which essentially are the outward looking part of the business. So we've used a simplified version of the business model canvas here, but a full version will give you some prompts on each of the section, and we're going to talk through what they say and what it means for you. The customer segment section asks about who we're creating value for and who our most important customers are. And it gives you some prompts around whether they're mass market, niche market, segmented, a diversified market or a multi-sided platform. So for SickNote, the overall target market is contained within the value proposition in that's, owner, manager, small business, but it's a huge segment. So can we break it down further?
Well, I've been doing some research and there were a record 5.4 million private sector businesses at the start of 2015. Small businesses accounted for 99.3% of all private sector businesses at the start of 2015 and 99.9% were SMEs. In 2015 there were 1.3 million employing businesses and 4.1 million non-employing businesses. Therefore, 76% of businesses did not employ anyone aside from the owner. That still leaves 1.3 million who employ people.
Well, that's an awful lot of owner managers of small businesses, isn't it, that you're targeting? Presumably your target is just in the UK initially.
Yes, that's right. There are just over 200,000 companies in the UK employing 10 to 49 people, and I think that may be my target audience.
So you think those are the most likely people to use your product?
Yes, absence is more of a problem in the lower paid sectors such as retail and construction.
Oh, okay. So you actually think not only that you've thought about the size of the business, but the sort of sectors that you might target.
Well, to be honest, I don't really know. I need to do some more research.
Okay, that's fine. But that's given you a start, and it's broken down the section into a much more approachable and tangible group of businesses that you might initially approach. All right. So you're going to go away and do some more research about that.
Yes.
The next section is about your relationships with the customers that you might have. And again, the questions on the augmented canvas are about what type of relationship each segment expects us to establish and maintain with them, which ones have we already got if we're an existing business, how they're integrated with the rest of your business model. And it talks about some types of relationships that you might have. So they talk about personal assistance, which is like when you buy a car and somebody will take you through all the things that you need to think about and actually help you make the choice. We might be talking about dedicated personal assistance, which is something like a national account manager within a large multiple retailer. The self-service model has become much more prevalent with the internet, and people like Amazon. Frankly, you do all the work through to the delivery. Automated services, so somebody knows more about you than you know yourself. So, for example, my contact lens provider knows when I'm going to run out and sends me a reminder to organise. And then it's increasingly, we talk about communities and co-creation, where one company offers a service or product, but maybe they then work with a number of others, third parties, to either deliver it or develop products. So things like the car industry, the IT industry, that's pretty prevalent these days. So in your case, what sort of service will you be offering?
Well, it's going to be an app, so in this case it'll be self-service.
So you envisage having it on your own website?
Yes.
Okay. And what about helping them? Will you be providing any further help if people can't use it?
Well, to be honest, I've not really thought about that, so I don't know. And I need to think about it, as it will be me who'll be doing it. Maybe I'll have to train someone up to do the job for me.
Okay, yeah, that's certainly something to think further about. And that's sort of the beauty of this tool, is that you can start to sort of see what you don't know as well as what you have thought through. All right, let's move on to the channels box. The channels box is a fairly busy box. Essentially, it really contains your marketing strategy. It asks questions like through which channels our segment want to be reached, how we're doing it or how we will do it, how it all works together, which ones work best, which ones are cost effective, and how are we integrating them with other things that customers might do. So it's quite a busy box, as I say. Essentially, it's about 5 things. It's about awareness. It's how you raise awareness of your product so that people come and find you in the first place. It's about how they try you out, how they reduce their risk and know that it's what they want to buy. It's about how they actually make the purchase. It's how it's delivered to the customer, and it's about what sort of after-sales service they want to be provided with, because obviously having an after-sales service means that you collect information about people and you have an opportunity to go back to them if you want to. So how are you going to get the word out there, George?
Industry shows, maybe?
Is that the only sort of thing you've thought of at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, certainly industry shows might be relevant, but you're probably going to have to think about other ways that you're going to get the word out about your new product. And can they try the app?
Well, we've thought that we'll offer what they call a free trial period for a certain number of days to begin with.
Okay, and then they'll make a purchase.
That's the plan, yes.
Okay, and in terms of payment, how will that happen?
Well, initially by credit card, and we'll also be setting up a PayPal account maybe.
And I'm assuming this one's going to be quite easily to deliver. You're not going to have to put it on a lorry, are you?
Well, no, as it's an app, it'll be available for download through the usual app stores.
And what sort of after-sales relationship do you want to have? Is it going to be a one-off transaction? Will you be adding things onto the offer? Will you be developing a suite of other apps?
Well, there's a lot to think about there. I'm not quite sure. Not really thought about it that far ahead.
And I guess that's sort of linked to the sort of assistance and relationship that you're going to have with your customers as well.
Yes, that's right.
So that's the front end of the model of the canvas populated. We're now going to look at the 3 back end boxes, the ones on the left hand side. Those are the headed partners, activities and resources. And I'm just going to run through what the prompts are on each of those boxes. When we talk about key partners, these are people that are business critical that you must work with in order to make a success of what you're trying to do, because business these days isn't done in isolation. So who are your key partners? And your partners may well be your suppliers or other people in your supply chain. What stuff are we getting from them? What resources are they providing that we're perhaps not providing? and what key activities they're performing on your behalf. So if you were distributing through Amazon, for example, or through logistics, they would be essential to the business success that you would achieve. They're all about optimisation and economy of scale. They're about reducing risk and uncertainty, and they're about the acquisition of perhaps resources and activities that you don't want to do. Okay, so those are partners. In terms of activities, we're talking about things that we have to be really, really good at, things that are critical to our business success. So what does our value proposition require us to be really good at? And it varies from business to business. It might be the distribution. So, Amazon are great at logistics and distribution. It might be about our customer relationships and the emotions associated with those. So somebody like Apple is great at brand and making it a desirable product. And then it might be about how we get as much revenue from what we're doing as we possibly can. So the question for you is, what must you be really, really good and reliable at? It might be production, problem solving, platform, the network that you operate on. And then lastly, what key resources are essential, are business critical for you? What does our value proposition require to support it, be it distribution channels, the relationships with customers, or the way that we make money? These tend to be thought of in 4 sections. One is physical, as in buildings, plant, machinery. One is in the intellectual property that the company might own. One might be in the human resources that they have. And the last might be in the way that they manage their cash flow and their money. So, George, how will you fill in these squares? Let's start with the key partners. Who do you think they might be?
Well, I really want to work with HR professionals because I think they will provide me with the best route into my target market. I was also thinking that perhaps I could incentivise them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I guess if you're saying that HR professionals are going to help you go into your market, then perhaps they also need to be included not only in the key partners box, but also in the channels box as part of your marketing plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how this tool works, in that you sort of suddenly think about something sitting in one box and think, I can use those in the other box as well. So never be afraid to add things or take them away or move them.
Okay, I can see that.
Okay, so what must your business be really, really good at? What's critical to its success?
Well, we're promising a 24/7 service, so I suppose that should be the most important aspect of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
But also, we need to make sure that we're 100% legal and up to date.
That's true. And have you thought about how you're going to actually do that?
Well, we need to make sure that we're always on top of the latest legislation.
Yeah, so maybe working with some of the HR professionals, or subscribing to some service, or employing a lawyer as an advisor or something like that.
Yes, something like that. That sounds essential.
Okay, yeah, I think it probably is. And again, needs some more thinking about how you're going to do it. Okay, and then in terms of these resources, what is going to be critical?
Well, the most important is going to be a reliable IT infrastructure, because as this is a technology product, obviously we need to make sure that there's a robust platform there.
Sure.
But I suppose beyond that, doing this exercise has made me realise that we really need to also provide that personal assistance that we've been talking about. And that means finding the right people.
Right, we're now going to consider the 2 boxes at the bottom of the canvas, the cost structure and the revenue streams, because they're all about how you actually make money out of your business plan. So in terms of the cost structure, what are the most important costs in the business model? Which key resources and activities are the most expensive? And a critical decision is whether you're going to be a cost-driven or a value-driven business. Is your offer just a commodity like stationery, or are people going to buy from you because of the value that you offer in what you do? You could see it as being an Aldi or a Waitrose. And then lastly, the revenue streams. For what value are people willing to pay? What do they currently pay for? What are they used to paying for? How much do they prefer to pay? And how does each stream contribute to the overall revenue? Some of the revenue streams that people use are shown here. We've got retail asset sales, fees, we've got subscriptions, we've got ownership, sharing ownership, franchising, licensing, brokerage, advertising, auctioning, all those sorts of things. Do you know what all these are, George?
Well, I recognise some of them, to be honest, but I don't think all of them will be relevant to me.
No, you're absolutely right. They're not, but it's worth using it as a checklist just to think, now, can I get something else by using this? So let's apply that to your canvas. Have you thought about the cost structure?
Yeah. Yes, well, it's a value-driven item.
Sure.
And I see the business model being quite lean with most services bought in.
Okay, so yeah, just a small central team and then using other people to do some of the things that you're not naturally good at.
Yes, that's right. But I still need to think about how I'm going to provide support, though, and what that will cost.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really key to the way the whole thing hooks together. And what about the revenue streams?
Well, I see revenue coming from the initial purchase, but I'm not sure. Should that be a one-off fee or a subscription?
Hard to tell. You're going to have to do some more market testing, I think, see what people will prefer to buy.
Okay, because I've been thinking that we'd also like to offer add-ons over time.
Yeah, sure. It would be good to find out what people would value the thing doing better, or what other services that you can sell to them. Okay, so you now have a sort of first stab at your business model canvas, George, but I think we've recognised there's some ideas that need developing and there's some things that need testing out there in the real world. I know that you've already talked to some of your friends and colleagues at a fairly high level about the idea, but now it's a question of putting something together that you can really, really test with them in an objective way to see, for example, whether they prefer to pay a subscription or a one-off fee, and actually ask some questions like that. So in order to do that, you need to have something called which we call a minimal viable proposition, which is something that you can actually use to gather this information. If you like, it's an early prototype. It may not be the absolute and, all bells and whistles version of what you're doing, but it gives you enough to show people what your ideas are. And to gather information to go back and iterate further. So you might be testing price, you might be testing look, you might be testing functionality, all those things. And obviously one of the key things that we've discussed today is what sort of support they're going to need. But it's also an opportunity for you to see how easy they find it to use, and gives you an indication of what sort of support that you may have to provide to them. So do you think you could get something together, a minimal viable proposition, and go out and do some testing, carry out some further research, and then we'll reconvene to add to what we've already done on the canvas, and how it all starts to come together?
Yes, of course I can do that.
Okay, that'd be great. So we'll make a date in a couple of months to reconvene and take that forward. So that's the end of our webinar for today. Thank you for watching. As I mentioned before, don't forget that lots more information can be downloaded at www.strategyzer.com. This webinar has been brought to you by Coventry University Enterprise Business Solutions, and we can offer free mentoring to you using the Business Model Canvas and other tools which may be more suitable for your situation. To find out how we can help, please get in touch via email or phone as above.